Good morning, everybody. How you doing this fine Friday? Almost to the end of another week. And we're going to continue our rookie deep dive. Today, we go to our other second round pick, a player who figures to be a significant part of this team for not only 2022, but his entire rookie contract, which will be 4 years, and possibly beyond. But Kenneth Walker III was nevertheless, of the picks we made in the first 2 days, probably my least favorite. I think it still is, but I have warmed up to it significantly. When we made the pick, I liked it, but as time has gone by, I think I've come to like it even more. So I'll stop short of saying I loved it. I'll stop short of saying it was the best thing we could have done. But getting who we got in the third round, combined with me doing a little more looking into this guy, has me starting to really warm up to this one. So I like it. I think that this pick is going to, at the very least, show up in a big way in 2022. Unlike some of these other guys, I think Kenneth Walker is going to play and add value as a rookie. And while that may not provide a ton of value to a team that has got 1 foot in the rebuild room, I do think that you will see him continue to be a part of this team's success in 2023 and beyond, when we might actually be trying to strike at something. So let's go through Kenneth Walker III as a player, break him down, basically try to really describe what is exciting about him and what makes him somebody who went in the top half of the second round. So, obviously, he's a running back from Michigan State. First thing to note is his age. He's only 21. I think he turns 22 in October. So he will be part of the way through his rookie year before he turns 22. That youth is going to help him have a longer NFL career. And also, he did not, I'll get more into this later, but he didn't have a big workload over his college career either. So you are looking at a guy who could continue to produce at a high level beyond even his rookie contract. So that's one of the things that is appealing to him. This guy is young enough to where you could be looking at a 4-year rookie deal plus another 3 productive years beyond that. This is not one of the guys who you look at and just go, oh, he'll be done. He'll be cooked after his rookie year. So that's appealing point number one. In terms of his size, he's a little bit beneath the average. Some people view this as a problem. I don't. He's 5'9", which is in the 20th percentile. He's 211 pounds, which means he's in the 42nd percentile. Now, this probably means his power, his raw power, isn't going to fully translate to the NFL. I think everything else well, but he did occasionally run people over in the NCAA. I don't know if he's going to get away with that, at least not as much in the NFL. His arms, 30.4 inches, 32nd percentile. Hands, 9.5 inches, 69th percentile, which, I mean, I'm not going to put too fine of a point on that for a running back. The arms matter maybe a little bit as a pass catcher. For whatever it's worth, this guy has great ball security, but I'm not going to act like arm length and hand length are going to be big deals for him. Where he stands out is his explosiveness and speed. 10-yard split was sub 1.5, 1.49, 95th percentile. One of the better 10-yard splits of any running back in the history of the combine. Top 5%. 40 time, 4.38. Same thing, 95th percentile. One of the fastest running backs that the combine has seen. Maybe not top 10, but he's in the pantheon. His broad jump was also quite impressive, 122 inches, 75th percentile. Vertical jump was okay, 34 inches, 45th percentile. So the measurables were solid outside of his speed, which was extraordinary. So coming away from looking at his measurables, I think that's the main thing you're going to take away. He's very fast and very explosive. And these are things that are going to be very important for a running back to succeed at the NFL level. So keep those in mind as we move forward in this evaluation. Now, as for evaluating what Kenneth Walker did in college, first, he spent his first 2 years at Wake Forest, a much smaller school. He wasn't used as much. He actually only had less than 600 rushing yards each of his first 2 years. He was very efficient. He was effective. He was a good player. But Wake Forest did not utilize him heavily, and as a result, he was not a high-profile player until this most recent season. Oddly enough, he actually ran for exactly 579 yards in each of his first 2 years. Just kind of a fun statistical factoid. Which, for a freshman, that's really good. He was third in the ACC among freshmen. He also had a 5.9 yard per carry in his freshman year, which was third in school history. 200-yard games. He amassed his 579 yards on only 295 snaps. So things were going really well. 2020, things were good. He still had the same number of rushing yards, 8th in the conference. 13 rushing touchdowns, had a nose for the end zone, 3rd in the conference. But his carries actually went up, even though his snap count went down. So he was used in, I guess you could say, higher volume. His production didn't pick up that much in terms of yards. He did have 3 straight 100-yard games at one point. He had 3 different 3-touchdown games. He had 2 games that he put a big footprint on, where he had, 130, 140 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns against North Carolina State, one of the best teams that Wake Forest played that year. He had a big game against Virginia. His game against Virginia Tech actually earned him Player of the Week, Running Back of the Week honors. But at this point, he was still a relatively low-profile player. The reason why he's here in the second round is because of what he did at Michigan State. He transferred. Michigan State made him the man on their offense, and he absolutely went off. He was being used in a scheme and a system that utilized his abilities a little better. It was, a lot of zone blocking, a lot of, one cut and go stuff, and he excelled. So we've got a lot to go over here when we're talking about what he did in 2021. So buckle up. He played in 12 games, so I think he sat out the bowl game for draft purposes. 1,636 rushing yards, which was first in the Power 5 conferences, second in all of college football FBS, and first in the Big Ten, of course. He had 1,725 all-purpose yards, so not a very prolific receiver. We'll talk more about that later. But he still led the Big Ten and was 6th in college football in yards from scrimmage. He had 1,168 yards after contact, the most in college football. So when it came to getting yards after the defense got to him, he was the best. He does these things despite not being huge and not running with a ton of power. He has some, but he does it without having Jerome Bettis or Leonard Fournette type power. 89 forced missed tackles on the year, which was second in college football. He led college football in carries of 20-plus yards with 21. He led FBS in carries of 10 yards or more with 46. 18 rushing touchdowns, was 8th in college football. He was 8th in college football in carries, 263, so he carried a massive load. And despite that usage, his yards per carry was 6.2, 15th in college football. That combination of volume and efficiency, very rare. 800-yard games, 2 200-yard games. And you can look at some of the monster games he had. 264 yards and 4 touchdowns against Northwestern. 190 and a touchdown against Miami. 126 and 3 touchdowns on Western Kentucky. 30 carries, 246 yards and a touchdown against Rutgers. And then the game that really got people's attention, 26 touches, 208 yards, and 5 touchdowns against Michigan in a game of 7-0 against 7-0, I believe it was at the time, 2 elite opponents, and Walker absolutely put the team on his back. to lead them. They fell behind early in that game, I remember it, and he just pounded their way back in. So many huge games he had this year. PFF grade 89.3 for his efforts for this 2021 season. Let's run down the awards. Walter Camp Player of the Year. Doak Walker Award, which, by the way, if you go look up the Doak Walker Awards, me and Huck's Nest went over this last night, but the Doak Walker Award is actually an award that a lot of really good running backs have won over the years. He was a consensus. Everybody put him first team All-American. He was Big 10 Offensive Player of the Year. He was the Big 10 Running Back of the Year, Amici Dane Award, Big 10 First Team, 2021 Maxwell Award finalist, Player of the Week twice by the Maxwell Award. Twice was he the Big 10 Offensive Player of the Week. He was also the Athletic Player of the Week once and the PFF Player of the Week again once. So massive number of awards for what he did in 2021 with the Spartans. This is the year that is really worth paying attention to if you are trying to evaluate him. He was being utilized better. He was in an offense that was willing to completely let him carry the load. I think he averaged something like, 22 touches a game. So he carried a big load, and he did everything that you could have wanted him to do. Maybe not some of the pass catching stuff, but that was kind of a choice made by the offense to not feature him that way. Now, he only really played two good teams, Michigan and Ohio State shut him down. He barely played the second half because it was a blowout. But Michigan, he went off. So you don't worry so much about his abilities against elite competition after that. So that's basically what he did, but let's talk about what he can actually do. And yes, they are kind of different things. I know it's a little confusing, but it's not about what he did at Michigan State, where, yes, let's be fair here. A lot of his games are against competition that is so weak, it's easy mode. Northwestern is mostly terrible. Western Kentucky is not on the same level as Michigan State. Rutgers, terrible team. Purdue, not a very good team last year. Maryland, it is going to inflate stats. However, that doesn't change the fact that he brings a lot of really positive aspects to the table. He's built very powerfully despite his small size. He's very compact. He does have some power. Just because he's small doesn't mean he can't run people over and break tackles. He did it some in college. I think he will be able to do it some in the NFL. But the best thing about Kenneth Walker III is his ability to change direction to create an open space. You watch his runs, there are so many times when it just seems like it's the end of the line, he's gotten all he can get, and then he makes some crazy change of direction, stop on a dime move to completely go the other way, find another 10 yards, find another 5 yards, find another 2 yards sometimes is a big deal, right? What I would say about Kenneth Walker III above anything else, he is a great creator in open space. He's got good contact balance. He can run into people and stay on his feet. I saw this a lot watching his tape. He runs with great determination. I know it's kind of a cliche. I know this doesn't always translate. This doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have success. But the way he runs, he wants to make somebody hurt. And he is a smaller guy. He's not going to make somebody hurt the same way that a bigger back will, but he does run with that determination. We also know from 2021 that he can handle 20-plus touches a game. I think at Michigan State in 2021, he was getting like 22 touches a game on average. So you know he can do that. He's got great vision. He can see the blocks develop. He can get to where he needs to be in time to take advantage of the block. He's a very smart runner. He knows how to improvise in open space to get to where the most yards are going to be. He knows how to read his blockers. He knows how to be patient. He's got some of that Le'Veon Bell stuff, which makes sense. Same school, right? His feet are very fast. He builds up to top speed very quickly, and his top speed is better than most players' top speed. He's a great cutter. A lot of his runs, they just kind of give him the ball, let him stretch out to the sideline, and he's looking for the hole, and then he plants his foot, cuts in, and he's off to the races. And his ability to quickly segue into his top speed, his acceleration through the holes, awesome. He's got that elite speed that we went over when we were talking about his measurables, helps him get the edge very well on the outside. It allows him to outrun the defense in the open field. Like, if he gets into the open field and a defender thinks he has an angle on him, a lot of the times he doesn't actually have an angle on him. There were so many runs where he was stringing it out to the sideline, and it looked like he was going to, try to race to the pylon in the case of some of these red zone runs. Or he was going to try to race to the sliver of field between the sideline and the hash. And it seemed like the defense had an angle on him, but he just uses his speed to take away the angle. So his speed is going to be great on those outside zone runs that we are going to utilize pretty significantly this year, because this new personnel indicates that that's going to be a big part of the plan. He can power through tackles. He did it some in college. I don't know if it's going to translate great to the NFL, but I do think it'll translate some. His ball security is excellent. He's fumbled very few times in his college career. I think he has like one career fumble across the 3 years. If I could be remembering wrong, but it's a very, very low number of fumbles. He's experienced in multiple alignments and concepts. He's produced out of the pistol, produced out of shotgun, produced when the quarterback's under center. He's lined up next to the quarterback. He's lined up behind the quarter. All these different things. He's done man-power schemes with the run blocking. He's done zone schemes. I think he'll be best in zone, which is good, but there's a lot of ability for him to succeed in different systems and schemes and formations. And this is also something that is really nice. He had a big workload in 2021, but before then the workload was light. He had like 100 touches his first year and maybe like 125 his second year. So there should be a lot of tread on that tire. And combine that with his young age, you might be looking at a running back who gives you a productive 4 years on the rookie deal, and then gives you another 3 productive years post-rookie deal if you decide to keep him around. So I'm not saying that's the direction we should go, but the fact that he doesn't have a ton of miles on his body, like Breece Hall, if we're being straight honest, kind of did, and still showed that he can be a workhorse, gives us flexibility going forward. We could just ride him for the next 4 years until the tires fall off, or we could try to be a little more balanced here. We do have Rashad Penny still around for at least a year, and I mean, everything I just said, all these things that I just went over, I kind of described almost everything that you would need a running back to do, right? He's got power, he's got speed, he's got agility, he's got explosiveness, he can carry a big load, vision. All these things, it's almost the ideal running back, right? Now, that doesn't mean he's a player without flaw, so let's talk about some of the things that I noticed in the more negative. I called him a great improviser, a great creator. Sometimes he takes it a little too far. Sometimes he's a little wild. Sometimes he thinks he can just outrun everybody and go get a 20-yard run when there's nothing, and he just ends up wasting time, losing yards, risking injuries, risking turnovers. So sometimes he improvises a little too much. But look, he that's going to come with experience. He'll learn his lesson a few times. This is going to be a good year to learn lessons for Seahawks players because, let's be honest, we're not going to have a lot of success this year with the roster we're going to be bringing to bear. Let's just be real here. I just think he needs to add a little bit of discipline to his game, and he'll be fine. He didn't do a lot as a pass catcher. It seems like he can do it, but he wasn't asked to do it a lot, either at Wake Forest or Michigan State. I think he can catch. He doesn't have a lot of experience running routes. A lot of his catches were actually on plays where he was basically just a dump-off safety valve, and he wasn't even really able to have the opportunity to go make a play. It was just catch the ball and go down. But I think he can catch. The question I have is he a good route runner? Because he didn't get the opportunity to develop that in college. The one area where I think he's actually like a negative, the one area I would say he's actually a problem is as a pass protector. He's not good at picking up blitzes. His technique is not very good. Seems like he's just not good at squaring up with the blitzer. And that combined with his mediocre pass catching resume might keep him off the field on third down. Now, that's okay. Not every running back needs to play every down, but I think it is one of the things that will actually make him a bit of a negative during his NFL career. If he doesn't offer a lot of value on passing downs, then that's a significant portion of the game that you're just not affecting. That's the one area I don't know. He obviously, you can pick up technique as a blocker. You can get better at that kind of stuff, but that doesn't mean he will. I definitely think that the pass catching stuff is going to be fine. I don't know if he's ever going to be a great pass catcher, but he can be okay. It's going to be fine. I think he will pick up a little bit of running discipline as time goes by. Not too worried about that. I'm just worried about his pass protecting abilities. And look, we have Travis Homer for now. He's a great blocker, but Travis Homer might not be here next year. At some point, Kenneth Walker's going to have to throw some blocks, and hopefully he can do it. But other than that, this guy can either do it all or might be able to do it all. Like there's no reason to believe he can't. It's just maybe he hasn't because of the opportunity not being present. And that's really all I can say about him. He's a player that I've really warmed up to because he just gives you so much and he takes relatively little off the table. And what he takes off the table can easily be mitigated by just using a third down back, which a lot of teams do. It's fine. So I'm going to go ahead and call it good there. Let me know what you guys think of Kenneth Walker III after having the opportunity to really look at what he does. Look, I'm going to stand by it. He gives you, for his size, a good amount of power. He gives you great agility in open space, great straight line speed, good ability to stay up through contact. He's a workhorse. You can absolutely give him a massive amount of carries and feel very comfortable about it. He's got good vision. He's a great cutter. There's so little that he's taking off the table here as a running back, which is why I've really kind of come around on this one. At the time of the draft, I gave it like a B-. Now I think I'm more in like B+ territory. It's just going to be a solid pick, and it's hard for me to imagine this guy not working out. Maybe he won't be Nick Chubb, but he will be a productive NFL player and should, barring injury, give us a lot of value on that rookie deal. All right, so that's what I got for Kenneth Walker III after really diving deep into what he brings to the table. Let me know what you guys think. Peace out, go Hawks. Should be another video later today, and catch you guys on Twitch if you are so inclined.